Hey, what's up, everybody? I am back. This is Bob from FizznessShizness.com, and I've got my updated 2023 Best Bowflex Home Gyms article where I am going to rank and review the current available Bowflex home gyms that are on the market. There's 6 of them on the market, same as there was last year, but I've made a couple of slight changes to my rankings from last year. So want to share that with you. This is my article here. I'm going to put a link in the description down below. I get much more in depth on my article. So if you're interested in finding out more about this, put a link to this down below so you can go through and get a little bit more in the weeds if you want. I'm going to move this off my screen. I'm also going to put links down in the description below to each one of these models. So if you're interested, you can click the link down below and that'll take you straight to the exact one that I'm showing you here, either on Amazon.com or on Bowflex. It's interesting because Bowflex over the last couple of years, here I am on the Bowflex website, they are not promoting as many home gyms as they used to. In fact, there's only 2 available on their website. They've gotten very into like the treadmills, the bikes, thanks to Peloton. Also the adjustable weightlifting stuff, the SelectTech 552 dumbbells are very popular. So they don't promote nearly as many home gyms as they used to. So most of the links are going to be Amazon. But again, those are going to be down below. You can click it and it'll take you to the exact same one that I am showing you here. So do me a favor. I do a lot of different Bowflex videos. So if you find this helpful, please hit like on it and maybe even the subscribe. That way, if you end up picking up one of these, you can come back, watch my other Bowflex videos. I got a bunch of tips and tricks and instructional videos for different types of exercises that you can do with the Bowflex machine. So let's talk about the rankings a little bit here. So one of the first things we're going to look at here is the price. Now you can see here the Blaze, for example, is $7.99. Ignore that because right now it's the end of the year. They've got a bunch of different holiday sales going on, and the price here is not going to be what it's going to be probably in another week or so. In fact, a lot of these prices fluctuate throughout the year. Now their general price still does become a factor and when deciding which Bowflex is correct, and we're going to talk about each one of those as we go forward. But this exact price, set it aside. It's not probably going to be applicable by the time that you actually see this video because the price changes so much. But we're also going to look at a couple other things. Bowflex says each one of these models, you can get a baseline number of X number of exercises, 30, 40, 50, 60 exercises. So we're going to look at each one of the models and see how many Bowflex thinks, how many exercises they think we can get out of each model. We're also going to be looking at the design and style of each one of these for a couple of reasons. One is the bigger models take up more floor space, but they might have different types of exercises that you can do that you can't do on some of the smaller models. So we're going to look at that. And of course, one of the big things whenever it comes to Bowflex Home Gym is their ability to have their weight resistance upgraded. Some of their models do not have that opportunity and some of them do. So we're going to look at, can we upgrade the resistance if we need to go up in weight, if we're strong or getting stronger and we need more resistance, which one of these models is going to be the best option for us? So let's get started. Enough of me blabbing. We're starting off with our number 1 ranking here, which is going to be, in fact, if I pull my website back over, the best Bowflex home gym, according to Bob, the Bowflex guy, is going to be the Blaze, which you can see here on Amazon. Again, ignore the price, as I said earlier. There's a couple of reasons that I love the Bowflex, and I've put it in my number 1 spot. One is actually the price, even though this isn't the real price, because this is usually priced somewhere around $900 to $1,000. You often see it in that range. And for me, the amount of features that it gives you compared to some of the other models that we're going to look at later on this list, it's just priced well for what you're going to get out of it. I also like the design for a couple of reasons. One is I prefer this type of model with the flat bench. In fact, this machine I've got right here is the Ultimate 2. It's a little bit of an older model, but it's almost the exact same type of setup as this. So I really like the flat bench personally. But the reason I like that is because if you look at this here, this bench part that this lady's sitting on with her behind, you can take that part of the bench off, and this smaller part of the bench has rollers on it down here in this basic area. And once that is off, you can do rowing exercises. So you can row back and forth. It's got those rollers, and I love doing rowing exercises, and a lot of people love doing that because it's such a good workout. You can't do that with some of these other models. So that's a big plus for me. Of course, because the machine is a little bit bigger, though, it is a larger floor blueprint. So you may not have the ability, you may not have the room to have something of this size, but if you do, and rowing is important to you, then perhaps that this is something that you should consider. 2 other things here to mention. One is Bowflex says you can do 60 plus exercises with this machine. That's a pretty high number, as you're going to see compared to some of these other machines that we're going to look at on here. Now, the last thing, the upgradability. You can upgrade this up to 410 pounds of resistance. Now, almost every model comes with 210 pounds as stock, and I say pounds in quotation marks, but that's their resistance weight, right? And so with the Blaze, you can upgrade that to 410, which is a big deal for those of you that are going to need to add in that additional weight as you go along. So because of those things, because it's usually priced really nicely compared to some of the other models, because of that you can do the rowing exercises on this, because of the upgradability option for this, all these things combined, to me, just makes the most sense that I put it for my second year in a row as my number one best Bowflex home gym. And I'm just a big fan of the Blaze. So now let's look at number two. I want to scroll down here to my number two option, which is going to be the Xtreme 2 SE. Let me show you here. Number two. There we go. So that's my number two, the Xtreme 2 SE. This is one that I had lower last year in my rankings because it's often priced quite a bit higher. But I saw them drop the price on it a few different times over the last year. I love the Xtreme 2 SE for several reasons. Let's talk about that now. So there's a few things to kind of talk about. Remember the Blaze said that you could do 60 plus exercises? Well, Bowflex says you can do 70 with this. It's just got more opportunity, more options to be able to do different types because of the way that the pulleys are positioned, because of the overall design. And of course, speaking of the design, you can see here a much smaller floor plan. It doesn't have the flat bench, so rowing, cardio is not an option on this, but you may not care about that. You can see here it comes with the leg attachment, so you can put that on if you wanted to do your leg workouts there. So 70 plus exercises. It is upgradable to either 310 or 410 pounds. It's a big deal. This machine also has something that we haven't seen on other machines, which is called their no change cable pulley system. And so basically what that does, especially with different types of exercises, normally like with mine, if I want to do one exercise and move to something else, I got to take cables off and move some things around. There's several exercises that you can do on this with the system that requires no changing of the cables, which is really nice. That's not every exercise, but it's several of them. So there is some time saving opportunity with this particular system. The other machines do not have that. So I really like this machine. It's got a ton of exercises that you can do, smaller floor plan, and it is upgradable. If this one was the same price as the Blaze, I would give it a number one spot tie, but because it is oftentimes priced a little bit higher, in fact, you can see here on the Bowflex site, it's currently $9.99. Again, on sale, it's usually closer to the $14.99. But to me, it's just a really good machine, and if they keep driving the price down, it just starts to make more and more sense of why I moved it up in my rankings from where it was last year. This one is not currently available on Amazon. I'm still going to put a link to it on the Amazon site. It does have a listing. It keeps going in and out of stock on the Amazon site. I don't know if that's due to popularity or whatever it was, but Bowflex has it in stock almost all the time. So that's my number two, the Xtreme 2 SE. Let's go to number three. Okay, my number three spot goes to the Xceed, which was number two, but the Xtreme 2 SE bumped it to number three. But it's still a really nice machine. Let's take a look at why I picked this for number three out of the six. First thing you're gonna notice is the price. It's cheaper than either of the two that we've seen prior. Again, put a little bit of grain of salt on the price because it is going to change, but it is still cheaper. This one, even at its normal price, is often cheaper than those other two that we've seen so far. The question is why? Well, it's still a really good machine. It's got a couple of neat things that we haven't seen on some of the other machines so far. One is if you take a look at this bar right here in the middle. So this is a bar that you use to for ab like crunches. So you'd have an attachment here and you'd pull it over. We saw that same bar in that same position with the Xtreme 2 SE, but not with the Blaze. So a little bit of an extra exercise that you can do with this particular machine. Of course, it's got the smaller floor plan, which we saw with the last one, the Xtreme 2 SE as well. Again, no rowing aerobic exercises, but you may not care about that. It does have upgradable rods, but only upgradable to 310. And that's a big deal because the other two we've seen so far are upgradable to 410. Now, if you can't push that much weight anyways, going up to 310 might be all that you need, so that might be sufficient. But something to consider, there's a lot of people that want to use the home gym, the Bowflex home gym, because they want to get stronger. So that limitation might have an impact there, and certainly is having an impact on the price. 65 exercises, so kind of between the other two that we've seen here. But with this machine, we have seen a couple of downgrades or inferior features than we've seen with the first two. Still a great machine, especially because they've discounted the price on it, taking those things into account. So all this stuff is fine. This is, to me, is probably more of a beginner Bowflex home gym because of these things, but it's still a really nice unit, and that's why I gave it the number 3. To me, this is probably the best budget pick of the group. So let's move on to number 4. All right, the number 4, we've got the PR1000, and you can see this is a little bit of an unusual sort of setup. It's got some of the things we've seen before. It's got the bench, the flat bench, which is great, but the back looks different. It's a little bit thinner. That whole lat bar and resistance bar area is a little bit thinner than some of the other ones that we've seen. So you're also going to notice pretty quick too, we are even cheaper now than we were with the last one with the Xceed. The question is, why? Well, let's look at a few things. First off, Bowflex says that this is a 25 plus exercise machine. By far the lowest that we have seen so far. We've seen 60, 65, 70. So there's a lot more, there's more limitations with this machine than we've seen with some of the other ones. It comes with the 210 pound resistance like we have seen on some of these other units, but there is not an availability to do additional upgrades. Huge deal. So, if you're somebody that, again, wants to build strength, this may not be a great unit for you. But because it's a very cheap price point comparatively to some of these the other ones we've kind of seen here, that's why I've got it as high in the rankings as I do. Also worth mentioning a larger floor print. So if you're tight on space, this also might not be a good option. This one does not even come with a squat bar. So a lot of limitations with the PR1000, but the reason it's at my number 4 spot is because of the price. If you basically just need something to get you started and don't have a lot of money to spend, it's not my best budget pick, but it's so cheap that it had to make the list. So number 4, the PR1000. So up next, we've got something that you probably haven't seen before. It's the Bowflex Revolution. This was something that they created a couple of years ago. Actually, it's been quite a few years ago now. And it's a really neat machine, but it really just never quite caught on because I think it's just too different and it's too expensive. Take a look at this price here. Again, that's still a holiday price, but it's usually a pretty expensive piece of machinery. But that doesn't mean it's not pretty cool, and it still had to make my list because, one, it's still available out there. There's not a lot of Bowflex available out there, but 2, it's really just pretty neat. So basically what happens here is these are adjustable arms, and these arms can independently be put into a bunch of different positions, a total of 10 actually, that can change the angles or the trajectory of the different types of pushing or pulling or whatever it is that you're going to be doing. It obviously doesn't have the resistance bands, resistance rods that we've seen with some of the other ones. It's just a different machine altogether. But they say with this, you can do over 100 total exercises, which is way more than any of the others that we have seen on the list. But a lot of that's because of those adjustable arms and the way that you can change those around. One of the other cool things on this is they say that the leg press specifically ends up equaling about 600 pounds of resistance on the machine, which is a ton of resistance. Now, you can't upgrade. Well, I shouldn't say that. You can upgrade, but only to 300 pounds. Like, it's not much of an upgrade opportunity. It comes with the 210 automatically, as we've seen on some of the other machines. But there's not a lot of upgrade opportunity to it. But it is a really neat machine. It works a little bit differently. It doesn't have the same type of pulley system that we've seen with some of the other ones. Everything is cables built inside of the actual machine itself. So if you look at it here from the side, so all of the cables are kind of in here. You can see this kind of cable here droops, but it's just a different model. It's a different design. It is really neat, but it is really expensive, which has put it out of a lot of people's interest range, especially when you can get a Bowflex for $1,000 that still gives you a great workout. But this is a really neat machine. If it wasn't for the price, it would be a lot more popular. But something also kind of worth mentioning here is look at the price of it on Amazon. Amazon says it's discontinued. There is no mention of that I can find on the website of Bowflex itself. So something to put into your back pocket. But that's my number 5 is the Revolution. Let's go on to number 6 now. Number 6, the Bowflex PR3000. So a pretty interesting machine here. A little bit of a different design again, as we've seen from some of the other ones. Let's take a look at the Amazon listing for this. Why do I have this as number 6 out of 6? This is my last ranking. Well, a couple of things. One is the price. So the price is similar, actually a little bit more than we saw on the Blaze, which I have as the number 1 pick. But this is missing some of the options that the Blaze has. So It's only got 50. They say you can do 50 exercises on it. The Blaze above had quite a bit more exercises, at least 10 more exercises that you can do on this. Also, the upgradability on this is only up to 310 pounds of resistance, whereas the Blaze was 410 pounds of resistance. So a little bit of a lighter resistance upgrade opportunity that you've got here. Besides that, it's fine. Like, you can do a lot of great workouts on it. And you look at some of these pictures here. You got the leg stuff here. You've got everything you sort of expect out of a Bowflex machine. But it just seems like this one that they don't have as many features and you can't do as much with it as the Blaze. And for the price, the fact that it's more expensive than the Blaze, I get that it's still a nice machine, but if I was going to pick, well, I did pick. I made the Blaze number 1 and made this one number 6. So take that for whatever it's worth. So that's it. That's my top 6 Bowflex home gyms, the best Bowflex home gyms of 2023. Just a couple of adjustments from 2022. Again, link to my website, that article down below, so you can go and get a little bit more in the weeds on that if you like. And of course, all the links to all of these that we've seen here are on Amazon or from Amazon or down below. So you can just go